Hi there. Welcome to Tech Talk Weekly. I'm Bob from Creation Station. Do you know where your drugs are coming from? We're going to find out here in a minute. This is our weekly show where we hit 3 or 4 interesting tech topics in the news, get you something fun and send you on your way. If you have a story you'd like us to cover, Creation Station at broward.org comes right to me. My guest today, Miss Emily, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. So Amoli is, you tell them, Amoli, you give us your job title and everything because you're
Okay.
brand new.
Yes, I started about a month ago. I am a project coordinator for the Summer Teen Leadership Internship Program here at Broward County Libraries. Currently, I oversee 11 interns across 5 branches, and honestly, I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's great.
It is an excellent thing. Yeah, and Amoli has been pulling this off for us. And now I just lost your partner's name. Holy cow.
Aaliyah
Aaliyah, thank
Sellers.
you.
Yes.
So the two of you, this is our Creation Station intern program. If you heard us remember us talking about it back in January, we told you, hey, sign up. We got cool stuff. You could have been working for her, but maybe
Maybe
next year.
next year. Yes.
Maybe next year. But the cool stuff is we've got good stories this week. Aren't these stories this week happening? Just crazy, weird stuff.
Yeah.
And the first one is now you can get your drugs in space. And so the quick story here is there is now a factory up in space, a satellite orbiting up there that is a little miniature factory that is manufacturing drugs, and they will be shipping them back. They're not going to leave them up there for the aliens. They're going to ship them back down to us. And the design here, you can see the artist rendering here, but tell me what you think about this idea. Do you like the idea of using space for this?
Okay, here's my take on this. I was reading it briefly and I saw there was like something about cost and stuff, but my main takeaway is it costs more. Like, if you think about it, the production of a rocket ship, the production of fuel. Fuel is like, it's not just like ethanol you can get from Costco, it's like jet fuel. It is really
Yeah.
expensive. I feel like I don't know if the cost of doing this outweighs the cost of selling the product.
And that's what they're trying to break. That's what they're trying to fix. You can
Really?
see they talk about this as being a small satellite, and you can see this
Right.
picture here of just how big these things have to be to qualify as small.
Right.
And they're eventually going to put up more than a dozen of these, is the
Okay.
plan, so that they can manufacture the drugs in microgravity,
Okay.
which means it'll be purer in quality, and it will have a higher production value because it's inherently in a locked, clean room,
Right.
unlike what we have here on the planet and in most
Contaminations.
places. Yeah, all that stuff. It'll be nothing can get up there
It's true.
except
Okay.
radiation. So you
That
have
is true.
solar flares
Mm.
or something like that. So that's the trick they're trying to solve, along with what you pointed out. Does the quality go up high enough, and can you bring that cost of launching and building these satellites and putting that stuff to make it break
Off.
even?
Right. Yeah. Also, like, I don't know how I feel with the whole. I know there's like thousands of satellites up there, along with like meteorites and stuff in circulation. So
Yeah, I think you're selling it too short. It's way
yeah,
more than thousands now.
yeah, I
And
know.
yes, we have talked about that on this show before. If
There's
you've
so
been
much out
around,
there in space,
yeah,
man.
yeah. All we need is a couple of these things to break apart, and then we'll be in real trouble.
Exactly.
Yeah. What we need to do is get them out to a Lagrange point, and then they'd be safe. They'd be up,
Exactly. Yeah.
solid, simple. Go out there, visit the factory, come back down.
Isn't the
And
James Webb telescope currently in one of those
yeah,
points?
it's actually outclassed. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And it'll be interesting to see if it actually comes back in one piece, because they're not bringing this entire space lab back.
Right.
That's only one small part of it that detaches and comes down. That's the cone right here
Okay.
for it to come back in and do.
Okay. Hopefully they come up with
So
an ethical way to come up with so the entire thing comes back so we're not leaving back, space trash.
yeah, one of the problems was last week, one of the tugboats broke.
Oh.
There's another, all these space stories. There's a company that launches up small satellites. Again,
Mhm.
look at the size when they say small.
Right.
And it launches up, and then it can take over and go over to another satellite and help boost it into a different orbit or move it around or collect things. And their satellite spun out of control shortly after
Oh.
release last week, and they lost it. So they're going to
Oh.
shoot again at the end of the year.
Okay. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, not great.
Not good at all.
Speaking of not great, so cyber warfare, cyber attacks on people. Do you play any of the Blizzard games?
Blizzard?
Blizzard, like World of Warcraft or anything like that?
Oh, I've dabbled, never
Okay,
actually
okay.
played,
Because
unfortunately.
like last weekend, there was a the denial of service attack on the Blizzard servers.
Oh.
I had some friends and people who were complaining loudly. They were not allowed to play because other people were trying to block them from having fun.
Oh.
And so something like that is annoying and
Right.
a pain in the neck. But this is where we're really talking about things like going in and Stuxnet, which was something that happened almost a decade now,
Okay.
where they sent in a virus into the Iranian computer systems around their nuclear plants and shut them down. It was a cyber attack by a country, presumed Israel, that did this. But what constitutes an attack versus a terrorist attack versus defending yourself versus annoyance?
Mm. I feel like a terrorist attack, like by definition, a terrorist attack is cyber terrorism is basically an online attack for political gain or political, like bringing down other
Mm-hmm.
political force. So I feel like
Yep.
for Blizzard, I don't believe it's a like terrorist attack, but it's
Right.
certainly a cyber malware attack of
Yeah.
sorts. So I feel like it's touchy territory because then again, like you are dealing with citizens of different countries, but I feel like still it's just a cyber attack. So
Yeah. Yeah. And then so here's the organization that's the this woman here. Oh, I just went right on by her name. Holy cow. There we go. And I'm going to screw this up. Bilva Chandra. And this is from Rest of World. If you're familiar with our show, we've tried to highlight something from them every so often, get a different point of view on what's going on other than just the standard traditional U.S. press.
yes.
Again, get a chance to go look at these articles. All the links are in the show notes. So you can go follow up on these articles yourself and tell us exactly what you think afterwards. I'm kind of leaning towards yours that I'm not willing to say that attacking a company qualifies yet.
Right.
But some of them are not. I mean, and when you get into their website, Digital Peace Now,
right.
they basically want to stop those too. They want to stop everything.
Oh yeah.
And one of the ones I'll get into on the article when you get a chance to read it is cyber attacks on hospitals.
I did read about that, yes,
Yeah,
especially during COVID where they couldn't even read the patient's vitals. I mean, that's horrendous, especially in a time where everyone is
yeah,
suffering. Why? You
yeah.
know?
And
Like
those
why?
ransomware attacks, like, okay, look, we're going to lock up all your medical records, and until you pay us, we're not going to give it. I mean, the Broward County School Board had that 2 years
Yes,
ago.
I remember. I
Yeah,
was in high school back then and was or no school. I was like, "Well, what's
yeah,
going on?"
yeah, yeah. I would call that, definitely, terrorism ish. I mean,
Yes.
if you're going in and denying people the ability to go to school,
That is cyber terrorism because
yeah,
you are denying, like, for example, that it was gonna affect me from going
hmm
to school when,
yeah,
so
yeah. People have to wake up and realize it's the real world. I
yeah,
really dislike. Oh, it's just online. It doesn't matter. No, 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 no.
we're all online
It.
now, so
Yeah, it's the real world. It's not online world, etc. So
right.
go in and look. And this organization here gives you a whole
Okay.
bit of stuff on all the different things that are happening around the world and defending. There's really bad story about Kenya I'm not going to get into.
Okay.
No, it was just a mess. Oh, stop. I'm already signed in. So are you worried about AI taking your job?
I'm not, actually. I'm really not. I feel like there is that fear, but I feel like if the people that, for example, artists, right? I feel like they could use AI to create more art. If anything, I feel like AI enhances the job
Hmm.
experience, if you will, you know?
And your instinct is right on that one,
Right.
in that
Mm.
the last time uh, that we had a big push for AI, and back then it was machine learning, and instead of the large language models that we're dealing with right now. So, what happened? This is back 2011 or so,
Okay.
and in the European Union, They have now done a whole full uh, digital analysis of all of the different types of jobs that people had,
Okay.
and what jobs number of jobs that went away or number of jobs that were added,
Mhm.
and in which fields and things like that. So this is the one that previous automation type things happened. Let me see if I can bring up that. Man, it still wants me to that picture. That's just a silly thing. Come on, folks. Oh, you know what? I think I got the ad blocker on here, so it keeps sending me back out. That's why.
Oh.
Um, and so the idea here was previous automation things like factories and stuff like that eliminated a lot of blue collar work and a lot of
Yeah.
low skill labor. This is something that could have eliminated more white collar work or higher stuff. And it ends up it didn't, because some jobs were lost, other jobs were gained,
Right.
and people kept their jobs but were able to concentrate on higher functioning things. Uh, for example, instead of having to just compile statistics and spending all of your day doing that, the computers, as are getting smarter, doing the deep learning type stuff,
Mhm.
were able to um, do all the compilation stuff. And then it was just the analysis
Oh.
that was coming up for the humans. And so all of these things here, let's see if I can get to that survey data link really fast before it picks me out again. There we go. Okay. So this was done in the EU because they have much stricter reporting requirements than the
Right.
United States. So
Okay.
that's one of the reasons why this was done there for that.
Okay.
And they conducted all sorts of different 5-year studies in here to do this.
Okay.
So you're an artist.
Right. Mhm.
Tell me, what do you think with the new version of AI? Like you said, it's going to help you do, but
Right.
what do you think it's going to lose? What do you think you're going to be able to gain as the ability? Like these people here, instead of having to spend all their time creating the spreadsheets and doing this stuff, they could just do the analysis of the spreadsheets instead. How are you thinking that's going to happen with our new large language models?
I feel as if, well, since we're using the example of an artist, I feel like instead of actually taking time to like curate new, some people like they take a bunch of like pictures they see online and then they like, put them together.
Mm-hmm.
I feel as if now instead of taking all that time to like, look online, instead they could ask AI, okay, AI, here's like the general idea of what the art I want is. And
Right.
then, they're losing time, they're gaining more time actually spending on their projects and like, talking to AI and perfecting what they exactly envision. Because AI, even though it's not perfect, but it's near perfect. So whatever you put into it, as much detail as you do give in, I feel as if it could enhance your art
Uh-huh.
experience.
Yeah. Oh, I hire a lot of artists,
Yeah.
and I can see where the lure of using AI, using Midjourney, et cetera, to create the art instead of hiring an artist because I can get it faster.
Right.
I personally think I don't know how to describe things well enough sometimes
Right.
for those sorts of things. So the artist can do a much better job than I would. Like,
Mhm.
here's Bob's spiel over 3 minutes of words, and they can come up with an image much better than I can.
Right.
But some of the ChatGPT stuff of doing text-based, common language, common conversation stuff is becoming really interesting.
Right, I agree, especially with ChatGPT and the knowledge it has. I mean,
Yeah.
it's vast, it's insane. It's really
Yeah.
cool.
We're getting there. We really are getting around that.
Yeah.
But we have one more challenge for you today.
Okay.
Before we let you go, prove to me you're a kid or that you're not a kid.
Ah. Um, okay. Well, I feel like if I gave my birthday, I feel like I'd be able to prove
Oh,
my
come on
age.
now. Don't you think any 12-year-old can figure out how to type in the different
That's
year they were
true.
born?
That is true. I
So
mean,
our final story here, it comes from Marketplace Tech, which is a great podcast on technology, but they hit a really good chord with me on this one earlier this week on online verification.
okay.
So we live in a world where there's this big push now for trying to protect the children, online safety, etc.
Right.
It should have been a thing for the last 30 years. It
Hmm.
actually has been a thing for the last 30 years, as this article points out. And how have we migrated around on what we're doing for these things and doing this?
Hmm.
When you are going out there and accessing stuff now,
Hmm.
because you just passed the age verification timeline,
Yes.
yourself just within the last 2 years, did it change anything of what you've been doing?
I
Be
honestly,
honest, it's okay. We'll protect your
um,
identity.
yeah, right. I feel as if like with the age verification things, um, some of the things have changed. For example, like I don't know, my watch. I can now access my heart rate better. But like some other things, I feel like I grew up in a space and environment as like with my family and stuff where I grew up when I was supposed like 13 and older for most websites. I didn't really have accounts like for example like a Gmail, all that stuff until I
Mhm.
was of the age that I had to have one.
Okay.
So I feel as if I'm not really equipped to like talk about like age verification just because I never had to go around bypassing it up until like recent times with like my interns and stuff, which won't get into that, but LinkedIn Learning and its 16-year-old plus thing that can be a
Well,
little issue with
exactly. And there
interns.
we go. That right there is one of the things that they talk about here in the article is if
Mhm.
you're going to require people to prove how old they are,
Right.
how are you going to do it?
Yeah.
And the
Mhm.
hearings in Congress talking about what are they going to do? Are you going to force them to give them an age? Reddit on any of their not safe for work Reddits, whether for whatever reason it's not safe for work. There's a
Mhm.
very large protest going on
Right.
also. So you have to give it a birth date or your age,
Huh.
or maybe you have to give them a explicit copy of your passport or driver's license. You have to make a copy and send it in.
Ooh.
Facebook requires Meta as a company for their Facebook platform
Mhm.
requires you to email them a copy of your driver's license to prove who you are to regain control of your account in certain circumstances.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah. Do you really feel trustworthy? Yeah, I know. And
Especially with the
so,
cyber attacks that we just talked about. No, no thanks.
yeah,
No
there we
thanks.
go. And so the other category is called inferential age assurance.
Okay.
And by that, they mean they're going to do how you use a site, where you're going, what you're doing, how long you spend on certain things, what your reaction times are and stuff to judge how old you really are. And if it feels you're too young to restrict you or not,
Okay.
which sounds maybe kind of okay, maybe not. You're making that face. Tell
Uh,
me.
Okay, it depends on when and where. If you're actively using the app, I don't think they should be having access to your camera because, like, what if you're in like a
Uh-huh. Yeah.
you're in a vulnerable state, for lack of words,
Uh-huh. Yeah. No, no,
and your
100%.
camera's on, and they're trying to tell if you're a kid or not. But like, something is seeing your camera, and that has to be stored somewhere.
Right.
So that means there's video footage of you in a vulnerable state somewhere on some
Yeah.
server. Like,
Yep. Yep.
ugh.
Yep.
Okay.
And as they were in the congressional hearings, as the CEO of TikTok is explaining how this works, of all of a sudden the lawmakers are like, "Oh wait, no, that's creepy," and it's like, "Well, what do you want?" And so what? And they were like, "What do you want us to do then? How do we actually filter out kids if you don't want us to be tracking this stuff? Do we just take
Exactly.
people's word for it? So anyone who can remember how old of an age you're supposed to type in can just get on?"
Oh my goodness. That's
And this is
mess.
why it, as you alluded to, it is your family. It is the people around you who are responsible for you that have to take an active role and make sure that you know what's happening. You don't have to control it. You know, I've got nieces and nephews because I do all the tech stuff. Everybody was like, "Bob, take care of this stuff for us." I'm like, "Okay, I'll talk to them and I'll make sure they know what they're doing and where they're going, but you're not going to stop them."
Exactly.
So make
Stay
sure
in
they
the
know what
past.
the warning signs are. Make sure they have guardrails to know where they shouldn't go, and it'll be okay.
Right.
It's kind of like drinking, kind of like driving, those sorts of things. You should be
Right.
able to do these, right?
Exactly.
Uh, but it's also the idea of what are you going to trade off and do. And the final one, and it's buried all the way down at the end, is, oh, by the way, if you're going to require these sorts of things from people, as you mentioned, cyber attacks,
Mhm.
but number two, not everybody has an ID like this to turn in.
Right. I have
So
some
now
friends that
grandma
don't even have.
cannot, right. And now grandma
Mhm.
can't be on Facebook because she doesn't have an ID.
Right, like, there's so many things, there's so many, what is it, moving parts to this
Yeah.
whole situation that, it's gotta be figured out at some point, but, like, ethically where it's not where you're not creepy, that's the word. You're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
creepy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are we going to make this work for us?
Right, exactly.
Thank you very much for kicking off our summer with us here all summer long. For the next few weeks, we're going to be featuring a lot of our teen summer workers, our grad
Yes.
intern peoples,
Mhm.
everything like that, to highlight all the new young people that have been working around the library system. So thank you for helping us kick that off.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Oh, it was fun. It was
I
fun.
agree.
It just
Lots of
flies
fun.
by, doesn't it? It's just like
Yeah,
bam.
I can't
It
believe
just
it's been
I
20
know.
minutes. It's
Yeah.
shocking.
Yeah, it is. Let's throw up our final slide here real quick. If there is a library or a librarian you'd like to see featured on the show, reach out to us, creationstation@broward.org, and we'll see everybody next week. Stay safe and have a good holiday weekend.